This is Creating Your Encore Career and Becoming a Silver Entrepreneur with your host, Lynn Freest. Lynn will share ideas and expert advice from people that are walking in your shoes and living their encore careers, where they want and at the pace they want. You'll start a company of one with confidence and knowledge to live a fulfilled life of freedom and ease. Lynn is a coach and leadership consultant whose mission is to show senior leaders and experts how to start something refreshing and new after a full career in the corporate environment.
Welcome to this episode of Creating Your Encore Career and Becoming a Silver Entrepreneur. Thank you for listening. Remember, with an encore career, the rewards are great. You can work when you want, where you want, and you can do the work you love. To get a powerful start, please contact me. I'll help you develop your encore career either in a one-on-one setting or in a group program. But either way, use the link provided to get started. Today is episode 156, Why a Shorter Work Week and More Flexibility Might Increase Longevity. So this is a review of an article from the Stanford Magazine, and the article title is 5 Ways to Prepare for a Longer Life, and it's by Kaylee Shiloh. It begins with a quote from Psychologist Laura Carstensen, and she says, "Today's youth will likely have decades of extra time coming to them." And she wants to say, how are we going to use those lives, not just have them? They believe we still haven't addressed the critical question of how to manage 35 years of extra time. So that's what the Stanford Center on Longevity has done over the past 3 years. They've created what's called the New Map of Life, and the report will be linked to in the show notes. It was published by the Center in November 2021, and it really is a group of people that are discussing what would life look like if we're designing society around 100-year lives. So here they've got 5 proposals that might be different. The report covers a lot more than that, but we'll just briefly go over some of these. The first is to plan to work longer and differently. Again, as we look at it today, and as we've talked about on this podcast before, at 65, where traditionally people thought about retiring, in today's world, people still have a lot to give. They've got a lot of experience. So this whole idea of putting that all on the shelf doesn't make much sense. Instead of that, they're proposing things like, how do people create more of a glide path into retirement, slowly working maybe part-time or something like that. Or even have a path where companies incentivize their employees to return to work for a period of time, maybe to work on projects, or as I've mentioned in other times, how to help develop and bring on new employees. The other piece on that is differently is maybe, again, in this context of a 100-year life, we need to consider shorter work weeks, especially as people go through different phases of their life, whether it be child rearing or caring for parents or different things like that, or even furthering their education. So maybe it's the longer period of time can have smaller work weeks in it. And then along with that is the actual maybe you need to consider off-ramps and on-ramps so that, again, maybe people leave the workforce as they begin raising their children, or maybe they leave the workforce as they care for an elderly parent, or leave the workforce as they continue their education, but then make it easy to come back into the workforce. I think things have come around, so there's a lot of new ideas and stuff. COVID has taught us a lot of stuff and broke the paradigms of thinking about those things. So I think we can, again, just keep that idea in mind of you probably will work longer and we're going to be working differently. The next idea they talked about was change how you save money. And some of this is in the past, we'd say, we're going to save up this big pot of gold. I'm going to retire at 65 and live off that, and things will be great. That is great if you don't live very long after you retire. But I think financial people have said it may not be really practical to say that even if you work for 40 years, will you be able to save enough to retire for 30 years? So you need to rethink about it. And just consider the fact that you will be working. You won't be ending your work life at 65 or whatever it may be. So maybe you save money, continue to save money, but maybe you use it during the course of your life to maybe get some new education, maybe make literally a career change. And then you'll be working a little bit longer, so you're really only funding a smaller piece of true retirement at the end of life. Now, the third piece they talk about is movement. They describe it as exercise. In this study, that's one of the most important things. And it's not just exercising as seniors, it's exercising throughout life, because it's been a proven health issue that whether you be young or middle-aged or old, obesity has health implications. And as we age, it really helps to have had a healthier earlier life. Although wherever you're at in your age, you can always improve things by just resuming exercise. And it doesn't have to be, you don't have to run marathons, but it could be even walking 30 minutes a day for 5 days a week and doing some simple strength training. All of these things can help you not only live that longer life, but live that longer life much healthier. So it's going to be really important to stay in movement. And I'm going to just acquiring a book, The Joy of Movement by Kelly McGonigal. And she talks about all kinds of aspects of what movement can mean. So it's not just walking on the treadmill or doing push-ups. There's all kinds of movement that you could do. And I think you have to explore those things. What works best for you? Then the next piece, and I've alluded to this in earlier episodes too, is hang on to friends. It's one of those things where if you're connected to people, inherently you're living longer. That's just how the data plays out. If you're alone and isolated, things like depression can mount up. The whole idea is stay connected. Now, as you go through raising families, different things, or different careers, you may find that the current or the old set of friends has dropped away. It's worthwhile to really be intentional and say, I want to create new friends, either because I have new interests or maybe revive friendships that have lapsed. But this whole idea, and you don't have to be a super networker either, but if you can even have 3 to 5 close friends, that makes a whole lot of difference. So again, we've talked about the exercise, we've talked about the money. This whole idea of the social aspects of living longer, I think, is also critical. And then the last item was really getting back to what they called Envision, a good longer life. So some of this is, we might be our own worst enemies. In general, we probably have a mindset that says, oh, my retirement will look like my parents' or even my grandparents' retirement, when in fact that may not be the case at all. So you have to actually say, oh, my retirement is going to look differently. I'm not going to just sit on the porch in a rocking chair or play endless rounds of golf. I'm going to do something else. I'm going to find some other purpose that I want to pursue. And it's not in retirement. It's more like in the next stage of life. So again, even that is a mindset shift that I think we all need to adopt. Is one of the things I think I've said several times is that I could have 2 more careers even though I'm in my 70s now. I could still have a couple of careers ahead of me, depending on what I'm interested in and what's needed out there in the world. So this whole idea of our pictures are based on what we've seen or known in the past, it doesn't have to be the same way going forward. And I think in particular, the boomer generation is just in general reinventing retirement. And I think everyone just needs to be a little more intentional about that. So this is a kind of a shorter episode than some of them, and it just covers this one article. But again, the article was 5 ways to prepare for a longer life from the Stanford Magazine, and the link will be in the show notes. I think it's worthwhile. And also looking at that study, the long life study. Again, they really envisioned it for even to apply to the children being born today and moving forward. So it's not just about boomers and things like that, but I think it helps inform all of us of how do we want to maybe be different going forward from wherever we are. So the resources will be there. Thanks for listening. Remember, with an Encore Career, the rewards are great. You can work when you want, where you want, and you can do the work you love. You have the time, attention, and the money to make this leap, so let me help you. To get off to a powerful start, contact me. I'll help you develop your Encore Career, either one-on-one or in a group program. But either way, use the link provided to get started. We'll see you next time.